right, this is the last entry in the season to date videos, which is a good thing because it's getting to be about time to talk about the Oklahoma State game. Today's video, I am going to include a little bit from the press conferences, injury updates, and one or two other items, especially some, I think, fun tidbits about Asani Redwood. Interesting press conference from him today. Before I get to all of that, it is what you're used to hearing if you've been here before. This is WVU Football Going Deep. I am Forrest Poston. As I always say, I do appreciate if you share, subscribe, comment, click the thumbs up, and click the notification bell. Tell your friends. And more than ever right now, because, well, I don't know if everybody just took the week off for the bye week, because some of the other people tell me they're having trouble with viewership as well, but I also think that the YouTube algorithm is quirky. So I need you guys to please do all you can to let that algorithm know that it needs to show this video to more people so they have a chance to click on it. And, well, they may do some other things on it too. Anyway. Oh, what's happening today? Injury updates generally good. Crandall is questionable for Oklahoma State, and that's particularly unfortunate. We'll get to why. Everybody else is expected to play. That includes Burks, which is very good news. And it includes Carico, which will certainly be good news for the linebacking core and the pass defense, I hope. Some question about Justin Robinson. He did say it will depend on how he does in practice this week. Now, Asani Redwood. I think I knew some of this before and then kind of forgot, but he came to the U.S. from Jamaica just before his sophomore year in high school. A bit of a difficult transition, but he was a soccer player, not a football player, not an American football player, and he was only about 5'9" and 190 pounds. So when the coaches talked to him about football, it was possibly being a kicker. And instead, he went out for wrestling that year, and then he had a growth spurt. By the time he actually got to football practice, the coaches said, defensive line. Yeah, he grew about 3 inches that year. And after the first 2 weeks, he was ready to quit. Not because it was hard, but because he was messing up when everybody else knew how to do the drills. He was stumbling, fumbling, and falling down, and it wasn't exactly what you call fun. And his father said, hey, finish the year and see what happens. And it's probably really good advice because being that new, it's something, you expect to be stumbling and falling down, but it does, not everybody around you is going to be patient, and that makes it hard for you to be patient with yourself. He saw it through, liked it well enough to play again, and team made it to the playoffs in his junior year, and he said that was when he really fell in love with the game. And eventually some offers started coming from college, and the idea that he could be not only the first in his family to go to college, but get it paid for. And I personally do know how good that can feel. Even if you don't know what you're planning to do later. At least had football to look forward to, and still does. So the fact that he is still finding his way is not surprising. And remember, he has had an injury each of his first 2 years, so he has yet to have a full season of workouts to really get his body where it needs to be. So right now he's running mostly on talent. And when you consider that, he's doing pretty darn good. So I do think we have, well, I always thought we had something good in him, but the potential really is amazing. And he just, I know I call these guys kids a lot, but hey, I'm 66 years old. He's a kid. But he really is a guy that you want to root for. Nothing else really special in the updates. A couple of things, actually. They did spend extra time with some of the developmental players, and Coach Brown named some players of the week for that group. Offensive player Johnny Williams, who has, he's played a fair amount, but he really is still developmental. Overall offense, Dior Hubbard. It was a question of whether Hubbard or Dunbar would be the one to step forward. It appears to be Hubbard. I had my money on Dunbar. But the key is Hubbard has picked up pass protection faster. Coach Brown and Coach Scott both talked about how Hubbard is handling the pass protection. Hardest thing usually for a young running back to get good at, and White and Donaldson are both having trouble with it this year, especially White. So we probably will be seeing Dunbar if anything happens. We really haven't even had a mention of Jalen Anderson in quite a while. So, all right. Enough about that. Main subject today is the defensive backs and spear. So that's 5 positions. I think we've had about 10 players play them. Well, no more than that. I did not, write down the guys who've only done about 15 plays for the season. And just looking at the numbers, and I do like to look at more than numbers, but just the numbers, you can kind of see it's not surprising we're having trouble. Only 3 players have graded out above 60, much less 65. Again, I'm using grades from Pro Football Focus, PFF.com. And, we've got, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 who have graded out below 60. That's not good. We're not even average. Big surprise. The highest graded player is Rodney Gallagher. Now, that's a little bit misleading, and this is where you get into questions about numbers. Gallagher sucked rocks against Penn State. No big surprise there because it was his first time playing college-level defensive back in a game, and he's going against Penn State to start. Well, they got him a few times. Against Pitt, he graded out 78.8, which qualifies as dang high. And then he didn't play against Kansas. I did not count Albany at all. I don't count Albany in any of these numbers. Yeah. So Gallagher so far has had 1 lousy game and 1 really, high quality game, keeping in mind that he only plays in certain situations. So we're also kind of cherry picking when he plays, which should affect the numbers. It should make his numbers better. He's not having to play, under the worst circumstances. The guys have to play when it's they're best suited for or not. Other guys grading out fairly well. Wilson, overall 67.7. Burks, 66.9. Now, happy with Wilson, especially because from game to game, and whether you're looking at run defense, tackling, rush defense, coverage, whatever, Wilson has been consistent. He hasn't had any really low spots, which also means he has improved his coverage significantly. Coaches were telling us that, and we have seen signs of it in the games. The numbers agree. Thing with Burks, it's a decent score, but Burks is supposed to be better. To really be living up to expectations, he needs to be scoring up around 70 at least, and sometimes popping up, 80. His highest was actually Penn State, or no, let's see. Yeah, his highest was Penn State. He scored at 72. Scratch that. I did not write down his numbers for the different. But he hasn't done as well rushing the passer as expected. That is where he's scoring lowest, but he's not scoring high really anywhere. Run defense is his highest, which is good for a Spear, but we're just not getting what we need to get. Now, Coach Brown did say today that Burks was having his best game against Kansas before the injury. So if that continues, things will be good. After last year's injury, he had some issues, some of which were the mental issues, because it came close to being a catastrophic injury, and then, was not, I don't want to say it wasn't serious, but it didn't keep him out for an extended time. We really still don't know the details of what happened this time, so it's really hard to predict how quickly he will come back. Have to wait and see. Now, with the low grades, the lowest was actually spells, but keep in mind that Kansas was the first time he played extensively because he's coming back from an injury. He did do some good things, so he may be moving up. We'll have to see. Tarnu was second lowest graded, and I don't think we have seen him on defense since the Penn State game. Maybe some at Albany. I didn't double check. He's going to have to do a lot to get back into playing time. He has played some on special teams, but defense, no. Then Hollis, his average grade is just 50.5. With major troubles tackling and pretty low coverage. Yeah, that you probably would have guessed. Joseph, so we're back to safety, averaging 53.2. Good against the run, very good against the run. Excellent tackling, but again, rush and coverage, not nearly good enough. Fagan getting some decent scores, but his lowest is coverage. Again, doing well against the run, great tackling, but we have to have the coverage. Now he did have, he reacted perfectly cutting off a ball and then dropped the interception that could have been a pick six, a very long pick six, but just hasn't clicked. Then we have Garnes, who is, again, it's this consistent thing. Run defense, very good. Tackling, very good. Coverage, well below average. And that he has shown that he can cover against power four receivers. Yes, he was playing at Duquesne, but he played against a number of power four teams and did well. So, again, why this is happening with players who have proven that they can play. Is it just the difference? Excuse me. Is it just difference in scheme? I refuse to believe that it's coaching because other players have done well with these coaches. And of the low grades, the highest of the low was Crandall. Kind of right on the edge of, not quite average, but his coverage score, 58.5 again. Yeah, hey, we'd like to have that up over 60. Over 65 would be much better. But the Kansas game was hopefully going to be his coming out party, and then he got hurt, may not play this week. So it kind of sucks that the guy who seemed to be stepping up, now may not get the chance for a while. But clearly the coverage has to improve. And there are limits to what you can do to compensate for poor coverage. And when the coverage has been bad, sometimes coverage has been pretty good, but they don't make a play on the ball. Other times the coverage has just really sucked. And it's not necessarily clear how much is communication issue or just what the problem is. Now, also have to remind people we have still had some issues with linebackers. Their coverage scores have not been nearly as good as their run scores, with the exception of Carico. Or Carico, I forget the preferred pronunciation. And that was something in his press conference Trey Lathan talked about, that the linebackers have to do better getting deep enough when they drop and getting into the passing lanes. So the big difference between high school and college is that most of the time pass coverage is about landmarks, getting to a spot. And they haven't done it well enough. So we will see how much getting Carico back, how much that helps. And I guess this week we will find out how they adjust in terms of who's starting. Playing time. We still have Jackson, and Jackson have not played much, if at all. Tagaloa Nelson has played some. And these are guys who were expected to be stepping up a bit more this year than they have so far. But if they aren't ready, it doesn't help to stick them in and give them playing time. I am hoping that things clicked in this bye week, that they have made some adjustments. that some mental tumblers fell into place. Oklahoma State has been passing a lot, mostly quick, relatively short passes, make it hard for the rush to get there. That if linebackers can get into those lanes, you can really disrupt that type of passing game. But we'll have to see. And of course, we're still facing Ollie Gordon. That is a matter for another video. I will be doing possibly talking about green being green, and I will be doing the keys and questions for the Oklahoma State game, and of course the live post-game as soon after the game ends as I can get going. All right, thanks for dropping in, and a reminder, please share, subscribe, and all those good things. So long. So long. Whoo, voice is shot.